Welcome to the FY 2024 Capital Magnet Fund AMIS application demonstration. Today in this pre-recorded webinar, we're going to go over a few things. First, welcome. We hope that you find this recorded webinar a helpful and useful way for you to understand how to navigate throughout the CMF application. Next, we're going to go over a brief grants.gov reminder. We'll go over resources for questions. We'll review service request guidance, and finally, do the live demonstration of the CMF application. So first, let's talk about grants.gov. So in accordance with federal regulations, the CDFI fund requires applicants to submit the initial component of their FY24 CMF program application using the grants.gov portal. And that's the official website for federal grant information and applications. If you're experiencing any technical difficulty submitting the application via grants.gov, please do not contact the CDFI fund. Instead, contact the grants.gov help desk, and you can see their phone number and email listed below. If you have questions about the CMF, AMIS, or anything related to the CDFI fund, here are the 4 different avenues you can reach us in regards to your question. First, the CMF program. We are the best to contact for any information about completing the application or the application materials. As you can see, we highly recommend submitting a service request, and I'll demo how to do that. You may also call the CDFI Fund Help Desk or email us. For CDFI certification, please refer those questions to the certification team. Similarly, for compliance monitoring and evaluation, again, we ask you to refer those questions to the compliance team. And if you're having any technical issues regarding AMIS or the Award Management Information System, please submit those to our IT support team. And this goes over how to submit a CMF content question. And again, I'm going to show you how to do this, but to submit a service request, you'll log into your AMIS account, and then on the top banner, there will be a service request tab. Click on that, and then on the right corner, you'll see a new button. After you do that, a pop-up will appear. Be sure to select Capital Magnet Fund for the program and complete all the required fields. You'll press Save to submit the service request, and then to see the CMF staff response, you go to the Related tab and view the service request public comment section. And then to respond to the service request, you'll add a new public comment. A CMF staff will review your service request and respond through AMIS. Okay, now we're going to turn to the live demonstration of the CMF application. First, we'll briefly go over the CDFI Fund website and some existing CMF resources that you can access through that website. And then we'll log into AMIS and go through the application step by step. I'm going to pause the recording here and rejoin when I'm sharing the website. Great. All right. So now let's resume and go over the review of the CDFI Fund website. So first, this is our homepage, www.cdfifund.gov. And I want to specifically show you the CMF program page. So to navigate there, you'll see the section Programs and Training. If you hover over that and then go to Programs, you'll see the Capital Magnet Fund program is the second program listed. So if we click on that, that brings you to the unique CMF program page. Scrolling down, you can see that there's step 2, Apply, and this is where all the application resources live. So if we click step 2, that will bring us to step 2, the application process. So there's a few things I want to show us on the website. First, I want to go through the application round timeline. You can see that the application opened on February 14th, Valentine's Day, and we have the rest of the deadlines that are associated with the FY24 round listed below. March 14th is a very important day, as you can see. This is your last day to create a AMIS account, to enter your EIN and UEI in AMIS, your last day to submit the Title VI compliance worksheet in AMIS, and the last day to submit the SF424 in grants.gov. And for applications or applicants that are using a consortium approach, this is the date by which you're asked to submit a service request in AMIS, notifying the CMF program of your intent to apply using the consortium approach. Other key dates to keep in mind: April 12th is the last day to contact the CDFI fund with application questions. Those are more of the content questions that will be answered by CMF team. April 16th is at 5 p.m. is when the help desk will be able to answer your questions. And then the application is due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. And that's the very last second you can submit the CMF application and required attachments in AMIS. And we expect the FY24 Capital Magnet Fund Awards to be announced in fall 2024. Okay, so next I want to just briefly go over some of the content that we have available on our website. If you're new to CMF, we highly recommend that you review the 6 modules listed here. These just give a really nice overview of the various Capital Magnet Fund program topics, and if you're a newcomer to our program, they'll really help you understand the program. Now, for specific information related to the application, just want to scroll down and highlight 2 things. First is the application webinars. So you can see we have a series of webinars that are upcoming with the dates listed here, and their Zoom meeting registration links listed here as well. And the recording that I'm currently doing will be listed here as a link to YouTube once it is finished. We highly recommend folks to attend the webinars. They contain really helpful information about the program, your specific entity approach. You'll see we have one that's for housing developer manager entity approach, or another for the financing entity approach, and then a unique one for the consortium approach, and then finally a Q&A session for all applicants. So highly recommend signing up for those. And then second, probably the meat and potatoes of our guidance is listed here at the bottom. And these are our FY24 application materials. So definitely the most important one is the NOFA, the Notice of Funds Availability. So I'm just opening this up in a new tab, but this contains the information about the FY24 round. Very important that you take a look at this and read it. Second, the application instructions. This is more of a question by question guide. Again, extremely helpful. And do just want to highlight that so this is what it looks like on the first page. If you scroll down to this third page, really helpful table of contents in all of our application materials. So if you just want to look at part 1, just hover over this part 1 and click it, and it'll drag you down to that specific section of the application instructions. So really helpful in navigating around our documents. Okay. And then just going back to our application materials, also wanted to highlight another really helpful resource, which is the frequently asked questions. So opening that, which is right here, you can see there's a lot of frequently asked questions. So before you submit a service request, we always encourage folks just to take a look here. There's a ton of helpful information about the CMF program, and your question may already be answered here. So this is a great place to look prior to submitting a service request. And then finally, just want to go over the AMIS use and navigation guide. So what I'm demoing today through this pre-recorded demonstration is essentially a video recording of this guide. So if you want more step-by-step screenshots of the type of things that I'm going to be reviewing today, please take a look at this number 8 AMIS use and navigation guide. It's extremely helpful, and we recommend taking a look at it. 2 other things just to highlight: the CMF interim rule is available here. And then for our round data set, it is available here, number 7. So if you were to download it, it looks like this, which is an Excel file. And you can see per each census tract, you can see the applicable type of geographic areas that it applies to. Is it a duty to serve rural designation? Is it an area of economic distress? Is it a high opportunity area? Or is it a low income area? So this is the Excel version of it. I'm also going to show you a different way to look at this information on our website. Okay, so let me do that now. So again, all this information is available under Step 2 CMF. Now I'm going to turn to our mapping tool, which brings to life that Excel sheet I just showed you in a more user-friendly manner. So to go to that, you go to the tools and resources at the top of the page. And then you'll see the CDFI Fund Information Mapping System. You'll click on CIMS Mapping Tool. And then you can go to the public version. So click Public. And then you'll see our program CMF, or the Capital Magnet Fund. So click on that. And that's going to bring up the public viewer of the mapping system. So I always like to change this view to imagery with labels, just because I think it's a lot easier to see. So you can do that through the different layers. So click the layers and click imagery with labels. And then just to give you an example, I'm going to enter the CDFI fund address, which is 1801 L Street, Northwest, Washington, DC. So when I click that in, you'll see the address pops up. I didn't need to enter the zip code, it found it for me. So when I click on this and I go to the legend tab is what's important here. We can see yes, no for each of those geographic area tags. So I can see that yes, this address is in an area of economic distress. No, it's not in a food desert. No, it's not a high opportunity area. Yes, it is a low income area, and it is a non-rural area. So this is a really helpful way to just easily, if you're checking to see if a project would be applicable under EDA or HOA, you can take a look using the CIMS system. Now, if you would want to explore the different census tracts nearby, if we zoom out, you can see there's different patterns on each of these different census tracts. So this is the one I was looking at. But if I click over here for the one category, then I can see that different information is available for this census tract. And we can see it has this pattern here. So I'll just zoom in and we can see the information just for this census tract. And that can be a helpful tool in considering what projects you may want to have for your CMF application. So you can see once I zoom in close enough just to show one census tract, you can see that yes, this is an area of economic distress, no, food desert, yes to high opportunity area, yes to low income area, and non-rural. But you do have to zoom in enough that only one census tract is being visible on the page. All right. So now I'm going to pause here and I'm going to sign into AMIS. Well, first, let me show you how you will do that. I have to do that in a separate way. So let's go back to the CDFI Fund website. So again, this is the home page. So to sign into AMIS, what you'll do is on the top right corner, you'll see there's a sign in button. So you'll click that sign in button and that brings you to the sign in page. You can see if you click log in, then here's the username and password area. But before you do that, if you're new to AMIS, highly recommend reading the Getting Started Navigating AMIS training guide. And then also the AMIS service request quick reference guide. Here's the information for the AMIS help desk if you have more technical questions or if you're having some issues accessing AMIS. But again, when you sign in, you'll go to login and enter your username and password. Now, as staff, we have to sign in a different way, so I'm going to pause here and rejoin you within AMIS. Okay, so once you're in AMIS, this will be what it looks like once you're signed in. I'm here at the home page. Now, again, I'm using a test record, so all of this information is test. It won't, look necessarily exactly like your record because, again, it is a test record. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how to submit a service request. That's what we talked about at the beginning of the presentation. So again, here at the top of your page, there's this nice service request tab. So if we click that, that'll open up a new page. And on the right side, you can see there's this new button. So you're going to click new. And then for a CMF question, you'll want to select CMF. I'll scroll down. Again, I'm just going to say test for this. And then when I'm ready to submit, be sure you write your question in a full way. You'll click Save. And once you've done that, it opens the service request. Now, I do want to highlight whenever we as CMF staff reply to your service request, you're not going to see it on this just open page. You must go to the Related tab. You see that Related? You're going to click that, and our responses are going to be here under Service Request, Comments, Public. So that often confuses folks if they're new to the CDFI fund. You're not going to be able to see them off the bat here. Make sure you go to the Related tab. So did just want to highlight that. Okay, now let's go into how to create your application. So again, I'm going to start from the home page. Okay, so when you're accessing or creating your application, it's the same process. The first thing you'll need to do is go to the Organizations tab. So we'll click on the Organizations tab, and then you can see this is defaults to recently viewed. If you haven't been in your organization for a while, or if you're brand new, you may need to click all organizations, and then yours will show up. So occasionally that happens, so we do just like to mention you may need to change this to all organizations. Okay, once you see your organization name, simply click on it, and that'll bring you to your organizational record. Now, this information has kind of the information about your organization, of course, your EIN, UEI, date of incorporation, fiscal year end, etc. This information actually is very important because it's used for eligibility. Now, you'll want to refer to the NOFA for eligibility requirements, but just make sure you take a look at your organizational record and ensure that all the information listed here is accurate. Once you've done that, to create the CMF application, you'll go to the Related tab, again, Related, and then you're going to scroll down to the Program Profiles, and you're going to click on the CMF Program Profile, which is right here. So I click on the CMF Program Profile. Okay. And this brings me to the CMF program profile for this organization, Test Applicant Org 17. Now, before you create your application, we do just want to pause and make sure, again, all this information is correct. So the first thing you'll want to do is make sure that your entity approach is correct. So to change that, you can simply click the little pencil here or double click. And this allows you to change this to a financing entity approach or affordable housing manager developer approach. I'm going to keep this as it was, so I'll press cancel. And then you'll also need to create the eligibility record. So to do that, you'll see at the top of the page, there's the CMF program eligibility. I'm going to click that. And depending on my fiscal year end, the historical years and current years will populate. Now, this test organization has a fiscal year end of March 31st. So it's populating 2021, 2022, and 2023 as my historical years, with 2024 as my current year. Depending on if you finish your audit for your organization, if you're a June 30th or September 30th organization, you'll have the opportunity to be able to choose your most historical fiscal year. But if you're a 12/31 or 3/31, those will be auto-populated for you. However, if this is incorrect, please just submit a service request and we can work with you to ensure that that is accurate. So as a 3/31, all I need to do is just click Next, and my CMF eligibility or program eligibility record has been created. Okay, so to create the application, I'll then click the Apply for CMF Funding button. When I do that, a new pop-up is going to appear asking me to confirm my entity approach. So it notes that you're about to apply for a CMF award using the Affordable Housing Developer Entity Approach. And it, lets me know it's critical to select the correct entity approach. And if this is correct, please click continue, or if it's not, press cancel. So if, I selected the wrong entity approach, I can press cancel and change that, but I'd like to keep it the same. So I'll click this button again, and then I'll press continue. And again, there's the circle, and now we have a message that's saying, the batch is about to start, and now there's a percentage with the application being created. This is new this year, so I do think it is helpful in letting you know that the process is working and to be patient as the application gets started. 93%, we're close. All right. And now the application has been created. So I'm going to pause here and be back in just a moment. Okay, so now that we've created our application, I do just want to highlight that opens in a new tab in your internet browser. So if we go back to the CMF program profile and we just click refresh on that, I want to show you the way for you to be able to check the status of your application. So if we go to the related tab, again, this is on the CMF program profile under related, we click that tab, you'll be able to see all the applications that your organization has previously worked on. So we can see that this FY 2024 application I just created has a status of new, whereas these older applications have a status of abandoned. Now, abandoned would mean that I started the application, but I never submitted it. Other statuses could be in progress, which this will change to once we answer a few questions, or submitted. So once you fully submit an application, I'll show you this after we do that in the demonstration, but you'll see that this says submitted. Okay, let's go back to the application, and I'm gonna show you around. All right, so first, I want to highlight up at the top, these are some key indicators we want you to be aware of. First, the control number. That's your unique application control number. It's helpful to reference if you are submitting a service request. You can see the due date for the application, always at the top, the remaining time for the application prior to its due date, and the progress bar. This is actually really helpful, the progress bar, because to be able to submit the application, it has to be 100% complete. So if it's at 99, 95%, something's missing. And so you'll want to make sure that this is 100% complete before you'll be able to successfully submit the application. Okay, up at the top, you'll also be able to click this and it takes you back to your organizational record. If, let's say, if you need to make any changes to your organization, for example, like your address or something like that. Just going back to the application now. And then view PDF. So if we click this, this is going to live generate the information that's within your application. So this is going to be completely blank, right? Because we just created the application. But if once you fill in the application, you'll be able to see information that's plugged in. So right now you're just seeing all the questions that need to be answered. But every time you click this, it's going to live collect the information from the application. So it's a really helpful way of being able to record your progress. And of course, when you submit the application, you also can download a PDF of it as well. All right. One thing we do just want to mention is that AMIS does time you out. And that essentially means if you're no longer active on this tab within your browser, you'll lose any progress you've made. So let's say, under question 10, it has this, narrative text. Well, if I'm typing and I just leave this up for 30 minutes, if I don't press save or if I don't, keep this information, it's going to be lost. So we do just always want to make sure that you press save every time you enter any information so that it is saved within the application. And also, best practice is to draft all of your responses in Word and then just simply copy and paste them into AMIS. That way you're making sure none of your information is lost. Okay, So let's go through a few of the questions just so you can see how the application works. So first, this is question 1. Again, this is organizational level information. So if anything's incorrect, you're going to need to update the information on your organizational profile in AMIS. So if you see, my address is incorrect, you're going to have to change that on your organizational record. One thing I just want to highlight is the bookmark section. So if you click this little check mark right by bookmark section, a little red bookmark appears to the left on your subsection. This is really helpful if, maybe you need to talk to someone within your organization, or you want to highlight it to come back to. This is just something that you see as an applicant and is a helpful tool. If you'd like to take it off, you just simply uncheck, and again, it comes off. Throughout the application, you'll see these little eyes. If you hover over those, they give you helpful information. We call them help text bubbles. That gives you information about the particular question. The red asterisks that you see on all these questions, they're there on all of them. That means that the question is required. So anytime you see that, a response will be required, and you'll get a validation error message saying that you have not completed it if you did not answer it. And I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And again, all of this information for question 1 is on the homepage, or your organizational page. So if anything is incorrect, then you'll need to update it there. Okay, but for most of you, this information's auto-populated, it should be correct. So you'll simply press save. So I just want to show you what it looks like when your subsection is marked as completed. So if everything looks good, if you've completed all the required fields, then you'll get this nice green message at the top. It'll say your responses were successfully saved and your subsection was marked as complete. And then on the left-hand side, under your table of contents, you'll see that there is this lovely check mark that shows a green check mark that it was complete. At the end of the application, you're going to want to see all of these various questions have a green check mark. And one thing I do want to highlight, for each of these sections, if we click it, it closes it. And if you click it again, it opens. So there are, you can't see all of these questions unless you open them. So please just note, you do need to open each of the each of the sections to see the subsections. Okay. Let me go back to this first section. All right, now we're going to head to question 2, and I'm going to show you what a validation error message looks like. So this is where you request the specific CMF award amount that you want to ask for. Now, per our NOFA, an applicant may not request a CMF award amount below $500,000. So if you do that, you're going to get an error message, and I just want to show you what that looks like. So I'll press save, and it will still save the answer, but it's going to give you this error message, right? And it's going to say, responses have been saved, but a validation error occurred. Please fix the error and save again to complete the section. And we can see we didn't get the lovely green check mark. We have to fix this for it to be able to show as completed. So I'll change this to $500,000, and I press save. And again, we'll get the green at the top, and we'll get the check mark on the side. Yep, green and green. Perfect. All right, so now let's go to question 3. I want to show you how to fill out a table. So question 3 relates to state served. So if you are in a multi-state area and press save, you'll see that a new subsection appears. And this is pretty common, right? So at first I had nothing, which I'll just go back to that. You'll see that one will disappear, right? There's nothing there. But if I click multi-state, then a second section appears, question 3B. That's very common throughout the application. We really encourage you to go in order because there are so many conditional sections. So start at question 1 and go down the line. Okay, now question 3B, I wanted to show you how a table works. So for this, what we're going to do is, again, it's a table, right? So first we're going to start with the number 1, and then I'm going to add a state. You can click in this area and scroll down, or you can start typing the specific state name. So I'm going to start putting in Virginia, and then once I see that, I click it, and that selects the record. You also need to say if you have experience within the last 5 years in that state. So I'll say yes, and then I press save. So now that has been added to my row, but it is saying, you need to have a minimum of 2 records if you're having a multi-state service area. So to add a second state, we click add row, and there's one at the top and there's one at the bottom, but we'll click add row. And then we'll start with 2, right? So 1, 2. And then for this one, we'll put Maryland. So we're doing the Washington, D.C. area. And I'll click yes again and press save. And I'll do a third one just for good measure. So again, add row. And I'm going to press or enter 3. And then the District of Columbia. And again, yes. So press save. So that's generally how you will enter information into a table. If you say, you know what, I actually don't want to serve Virginia. I've decided instead I want to serve, let's say, West Virginia. So if you want to go back and add a previous entry, all you need to do is just click that first under record number, the hyperlink there. So if you click 1, it's going to bring up this record. Now there's 2 options. You can just simply delete the record altogether. So let's do that. If we delete the record, it's saying, are you sure? And I'm saying, yes, I want to delete this record. And then I can just add a row. Now, since I deleted number 1, I'm just going to put a number 1 in there. And then I'm going to say West Virginia. And I'll say yes. And save. And then it'll be put into numerical order, which is nice. But let's say, I don't want to actually delete it. I just want to change it. So I'm going to go to Maryland and say, I actually don't want Maryland. I want something else. So I'll click clear. And then if I start typing like Pennsylvania, I can click that and press save, and it will update it from being Maryland. And now it'll read Pennsylvania. So you have a couple options with how you would like to do this. You also can download a CSV file if you would like to save the information in that way. Okay. I do just want to show a couple other things, and then I'm going to switch to a different application. First, I want to show you, again, we'd mentioned before, if you, depending on how you answer certain questions, other questions will appear. So let's go to question 6. This is for consortium approach applicants. So this was new in the FY23 round, and it, again, is available for the FY24 round. So in this example, based on your selections, other questions will appear. So if I say yes to this question and I press save, then again, 2 new subsections will appear. This is the case for this question. I'm going to show you a different one, question 25 on rural areas. Sometimes the questions just appear on that page too. So if I click yes to this, then other questions on this page will appear. So again, we encourage you to go in order though, just so the conditionality of the subsections will appear as they should appropriately. Similarly, for question 9C, this is a really big, very important question. So depending on if you are selecting homeownership, rental, or EDA, or a combination of all 3, which you certainly can do, other questions will appear within the application. So I'm going to say no to homeownership for each of these, and I'll say yes for rental housing, just for one of them. That's all you need to do. No, okay. And so because I entered rental housing, other questions are going to appear. So we just saw question 13, rental, projected performance and pipeline appeared. And if we scroll down to part 2, rental housing, area of economic distress and high opportunity areas, and rental housing income targeting appeared. Now, if I switch this to no and I switch this to yes, similarly, different questions are going to appear. So in part 2, once this saves, we can see question 22 is now here, which is geographic and income targeting for home ownership and the strategy question. And similarly, when we scroll up here, 13F is about home ownership projected performance and pipeline. So again, I say all this because, again, it's very important that you go in order, because depending on how you answer these initial questions, other subsections will appear, and you're not going to be able to finish the application if you don't fill these out. Okay, I'm going to pause the recording and switch to another application that will give us the opportunity to look at a few more things. So just one moment. Okay, so I've switched to another application because I want to show you a couple of other things that are available in this application. So first, let's just highlight that this progress is 97% complete. So we just have a few questions that are missing, and then we'll be able to submit this application, which of course I wanted to show you during the demo. But first I wanted to show you two things. First is the SF424 record. So again, as we talked about, you'll need to submit your SF424 on grants.gov. Once you do that, there's an automatic loading process that will transfer that information to AMIS. And once that information has been transferred to AMIS, you need to attach that SF424 to your application. So to do that, all you need to do is simply click in this area and then just click your SF424 and press save. Now, again, a reminder that you do need to apply via grants.gov for it to appear in the application, and it can take 1 to 2 business days to appear. If it doesn't appear for whatever reason, please submit a service request and we'll let you know. Now, if you have submitted if you have submitted more than one SF424s for whatever reason, I'll just press clear really quick. You'll see that there will be multiple SF424s. Please just make sure you select the correct one for your application. Okay, the other item I wanted to highlight was the Title VI compliance worksheet. So if we click that here, it's a similar interface to the SF424, but this is quite a different requirement. So this is going to be new for the FY 2024 application. It's a new requirement for all CDFI fund programs. So similarly to how the SF424 worked, you just simply click here and your Title VI worksheet will apply. It is really important that only a 2024 record is selected. So I'll click that and press save. The Title VI compliance worksheet has to be submitted annually, and the application is only accepting 2024 entries. So even though it's only February now, let's say you did this in December 2023, your 2023 entry will not be eligible. It's important that you create a new one in 2024. And if you have any questions about how to create this, there is information about our website, but please feel free to submit a service request and we can point you in the right direction. Okay. So a few other things to show you in the application. And I've already filled this one out, so it's we'll be able to see a little bit more examples here. So I want to go to question 14. This is an important question, as it is where you're going to enter in your expected eligible project costs in the application, as well as your private leverage, which determines the private leverage multiplier that's listed in the application. The information you enter here has to match the information that you subsequently enter for question 15, 16, and 17. So this is your overall leverage summary. And then for each of these questions, you're detailing how much is enterprise level, how much is reinvestment, and how much is project level leverage. And then at the bottom, there's this validate leverage inputs. And this is where it's going to be comparing the information that you entered into 15, 16, 17 compared to what you entered into question 14. So I just highlight this because it can trip people up. You just need to make sure that all the information matches each other. So be very careful with this and make sure that the specific leverage entered in 15, 16, 17 matches what you entered in question 14. Okay. All right, I do want to highlight that there are several new validations in the appendices that they'll stem from question 14, 20, 21, and 22. So I'll go through each of those so you can see them. First, let's go. So for this particular application, I've only proposed rental. So these are all of the questions related to areas of economic distress, and then HOA, and then rental housing income targeting. Similarly, if I had proposed homeownership, it's again geographic targeting and income targeting. So for question 20, let's just go here really quickly. Want to highlight that, for rental, you'll enter in the percentage of units that will be located in areas of economic distress. That's this first one. And then there are two separate areas for HOA. So this is the standard HOA definition as designated by the Federal Housing Finance Agency. And then there's the second question that is fitting the definition of the expanded CMF HOA criteria. Now, please see the NOFA for the definition of the expanded HOA criteria, but just wanted to highlight that these are two different distinct and non-duplicative entries. And so whatever you'll enter here will summarize or aggregate. So if I do 20-20-20, this would be 60, and it can be no higher than 100%, of course, because there's no duplication. All right, I want to show you a new validation for question 25. If I select yes for this, there is a new validation here that you cannot put more than 95%. So if I put in 100, just put in some test data here, you'll see that I will get an error message saying that this can be no more than 95%. Yep, so we can see 95% is the maximum value, as 5% of the award can be used for direct administrative expenses. So I will change this to 95 and then press save. As you can see, sometimes it does take the application a minute to save, so please be patient as it does its thing and saves. Okay, next I'd like to show you question 27, previous awards. Again, this is a test record, but what I want to specifically show you is this table at the bottom of question 27. This is only going to appear to applicants that have previously received a CMF award. So again, it goes to this question here. If you've previously received a CMF award, then this will appear. And it'll have your previous award, the award year, the award amount, your production target, the number of units completed, that percentage compared to your production target, and the percentage of your award committed. And now if you're seeing this information and it's making you realize, oh, I need to update my performance report, this provides you the opportunity to think through that, and you can just simply go and update your CMF performance report. Once you save that, this will auto update next time you open the application. So did just want to highlight that. And this percentage of the award committed is a new column in the application. All right, just going to pause here. I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to go over the appendices. These are very important, so definitely want to spend some time reviewing these. So first we're going to go over Appendix 1. I do just want to highlight one change. Again, this is a table, so if you have multiple products that you'll want to add for your financing activities products, you'll just click Add Row. One thing that has changed is that for tenure type, you can now select multiple tenure types. In the past, you could only select one. So this is called a multi-pick list. And similarly, that's how this activity type works, where you can select multiple ones. If we scroll to the bottom, here's an example of where you can only choose one. So this is just a singular pick list. It's a pretty straightforward appendix, so just wanted to highlight that one change. So I'll press save here. Okay, And next I want to turn to Appendix 2, which is probably the most complicated of the appendices, so I want to spend some time on that, especially as we have introduced some new validations here. Okay, so I do want to highlight a new validation that for rental and homeownership units that are listed in Appendix A1, they do have to now, which is right here, A1, they do have to match the rental and homeownership units in B1. Similarly, the same rental units and homeownership units in A2 must match the units in B2. So let me just show you what that looks like. You can see I have 1,000 units in rental, 0 homeownership in A1. If I go to B1, there's these information at the top here now where it's pulling the information from table A1 saying, hey, you had 1,000 units in A1, so it needs to match that. So if this does not match, let's say I only have 100 here, when I press save, I'm going to get a validation error. So let's take a moment. So again, we have a validation error. And it's saying the total rental units in table A1 must equal the total rental units in table B1. So again, if I just add this to be 1,000, it's simple 0, and I press save, then this will be rectified. And again, this is for homeownership and rental. In this particular application, I'm just giving you an example for rental for ease of demonstration, but again, it's rental and home ownership. Okay, so again, the same thing is happening in A2 and B2. So for the projected activity, I'm projecting, and here, this is a good example as well too. So the eligible project costs that were entered in question 14C, and again, that's all the way back here at the top that we talked about before, the overall leverage summary, the eligible project costs, right here. That is being looked at for table A2, because your eligible project costs here need to match the eligible project costs here at the bottom as well. So there is a new validation for that. And again, if I don't have a matching amount, we're going to get a validation error associated with it. And this is just to really enhance the fidelity of information throughout the application. So again, total cost from the table must equal to the total project cost in question 14C. Now, if you're like, oh, well, I entered that information wrong, this is incorrect, you'll need to go back to question 14C to change this. You can't just change it here on screen. You have to navigate back to question 14 and make a change there. So do you just want to highlight no changes can be made from Appendix 2 to this core information? You'll have to go back to the original entry. All right, so let's rectify this at a 0. So now it's 5 million, 5 million, and I'll press save, and then we'll get that nice green check mark. Okay, so that's table A2. Let's go to table B2. Similarly, again, there's going to be the rental units and housing units from table A2. So I need to make sure that my rentals match, my units match, but then also there's these other areas that we have validations for as well. Some of these existed last year, but one of them is new. So last year we had the rental housing income targeting. So this is the percentage of units that will be committed to very low income. The geographic targeting is new. We added that this year. So this is the percentage of units that will be restricted to an area of economic distress or high opportunity areas. And then this was here last year, the homeownership, geographic, and income targeting. So the percentage of units that will be targeted to families with incomes above 80% and no greater than 120% in an AED or units targeted to low-income families. So again, this is coming from table A2, right? It's similar to what we saw before, but these are coming from other places in the application. We always put their reference right here so you can clearly see where they're coming from. And if you need to change them for whatever reason, you have to go back to these questions. So if I decide, you know what, I don't want to have 100, then I go back to question 21 and I will change that. and I can change this to 50, etc., whatever I'd like it to be. But that's where you would go back and change the information. And then you need to ensure that your specific entries in table B2 match these percentages. Okay, so let's look briefly at table B2. And this is similar for B2 and B1. Introduced last year in FY23 round, there's 3 columns here. The first is the 5-year total in an area of economic distress. The second column is the five-year total not in an area of economic distress. And this is the total. In the past, in FY21 rounds and forward, we just had one column here. We separated these so that we can add these validations to ensure the information that you've entered in other areas of the application is matching what you're entering into the appendices. Okay. I do want to highlight that we do have this row for rental units in high opportunity areas. So if you do have any units that will be in high opportunity areas, you'll enter those here, and they could be in an AED or not in an AED. Okay, let me scroll here to the bottom, a couple changes as well. So last year we had these helpful home ownership calculations already present, but we decided to actually add the rental housing calculations as well, just so it was very clear and it could be understood easily what the percentage of very low income is and the percentage of areas of an economic distress or high opportunity areas. So we can see this is 100%, this is 100%, and that matches at the top 100%, 100%. Now let's say that 100% of these need to be in an AED. So if I change this to 0, not in an AED, this is going to violate that percentage. I'm going to get a validation message. And I just want to show you what that looks like. Okay, so again, I have an error message, and I scroll down, and I can see the percentage of rental units located in an area of economic distress or high opportunity area must equal the percentage entered in question 20C. And again, I can see at the top, that's 100%. So that prompts me to make this change. So I'll go back and just switch this information. Similarly, if I put it here, that's going to affect the percentage of units that should be for very low income. So I'll try to save this, and I'm going to get a different error message because, all of my units are for the 80 to 120, which isn't very low income. So I scroll back down here. And again, I'm going to say, the percentage of rental units restricted very low income and below must equal the percentage in question 21A. I scroll up to the top. I can see that is 100%. Okay, so I think I've demonstrated this enough. I'm just going to change this to make sure it's correct. And this is just a soft stop warning here. We do just want to note that the values in this table will be used to size the performance goals and measures that your organization is accountable to achieving if you're granted an award. So you just make sure the information you're entering here is accurate because you will be held accountable to the information entered. Okay, so we got the green check marks, we're good to go. Okay, so for for table C1 and C2, these are only going to be visible if you are using a finance entity approach. If you're using an affordable housing developer approach, these will not be visible. So just want to make a note of that. Okay, for the project pipeline, again, there's another validation here. Your total units from table B2 need to equal the total units that you're entering. So if we scroll over here to the right, you can see there's CMF total units. So this value needs to equal this value from table B2. This is a new validation. And then similarly, your eligible project costs right here need to equal the eligible project costs from question 14C. You can see we've added a lot of validations. We're really trying to make sure that we have data fidelity throughout the application. Okay. All right, now we're going to go to Appendix 3B on sources. Similarly, your eligible project costs, this is the value from question 14C. They need to equal, at the bottom, the net sources eligible project costs. So I have a green check mark because this 5 million equals the 5 million entered here. So there's validations on this in Appendix 3A, 14C, Table A2, and Appendix 3B. They're all making sure that you're entering the same eligible project costs throughout the application. Okay, now let's go to Appendix 4. Now, this is only going to be visible if you propose entering enterprise level leverage in question 15. So if I go back up to question 15, and I'll just enter, $1 for this. If I do that, then the second subsection appears, but then this Appendix 4 will appear and you'd be able to enter this information. So just wanted to highlight that. If you don't see it, it's because you didn't enter any information for question 15. Excuse me, I'm gonna change this to 0 again. And anytime you change any of your leverage informations, you'll see the validate leverage inputs resets. So I have to go back and save this because I've made a change in my leverage. Okay, so going back down, we can see now Appendix 4 is no longer viewable again. For Appendix 5, that's key personnel, you can enter up to 10 staff members. And again, same thing as before, add row, delete record, etc. Okay, for Appendix 6, this is your previous CDFI fund awards and allocations. So if you, as the organization, has received a financial award from the CDFI fund, then this table will appear, and we're asking you to confirm the accuracy. So again, this is a test application, but it's showing like it wouldn't not be correct that there would be 3 CMF awards in 1 year. But we just want to, this would be like, no, it's incorrect. I only received 1 award in 2019. So if you see anything incorrect, please submit a service request. If you have not if you have not received a CDFI fund award or bond guarantee program loan agreement, you'll see it'll just simply say not applicable. And then you'll just say, yes, this is correct. So you'll either see this table or you'll see not applicable, and you just want to confirm that it is correct. And if it's not, please submit a service request. Okay, so scrolling down to Appendix 7, this is the application financial data. So depending on your entity approach, certain information will appear. All applicants will have to complete Table D, but depending on the type of entity approach you are, Table E is only going to appear for financing entity approach, and Table F will only appear for rental housing, affordable housing developers. So let me pause here, and I'm going to show what the Table F looks like on the other applications. So one moment. Okay, so I wanted to show you what this looked like for the affordable housing developer managers. So again, Table F is only going to appear for the affordable housing developers. It actually is a 2-step question. So if you are proposing home ownership and not rental, your property portfolio under management just needs to be described in question 27, and you should select no to this. But if you are an affordable housing developer manager that has rental property portfolio under management, you select yes. So with yes, a second subsection will appear. If you select no, then that subsection will disappear. So I press no, and again, there's nothing here. There's no second table. If I press yes and save, because I have a rental property portfolio under management, then the second one will appear. So I just want to highlight that because it is an important difference. Okay, for Appendix 8, want to show you two things. First, there's been some changes to the application attachments page. So similar to in the past, you'll still need to attach your two most recent historical fiscal year audits, and you'll do that here and here. And you can see it'll say like this, you need to do your 2023 here and your 2022 here. That is a change this year. We really try to specify, which year should be in each upload, because some folks switch them. So for, again, data fidelity, we try to make that very clear. In addition, we've added this section on management letters. So if the applicant did not receive a management letter from the auditor, the application now allows users to attest to this fact by selecting yes. So you're saying, yes, I did not receive a management letter and I attest to this. Now, if you do have a management letter, then you select no, and then you're going to attach a copy of your management letter for the audit. And you'll just drag and drop that here. But again, if you do not have a management letter, you're saying, I attest that we were not provided a management letter, yes, and that allows you to save. And then again, you're just going to drag and drop the files from your location to the application as you would normally. Another change I want to highlight for the non-certified CDFIs is here at the bottom, we've added a proof of name change. This is an optional field. It is not required, but a lot of folks have very long organizational histories, and their name has changed often since, their original IRS determination letter or their articles of or bylaw establishing document. So because of that, if you've had several name changes, please submit that information here. It helps us make sure and assess your eligibility to the program very quickly and reduces the number of back and forths with you as an applicant. Okay, finally, Appendix 9, which are the forms and certifications. I just want to show one change for the environmental review. This used to be a form where you'd say yes, no. Now it is an attestation. We still need to review the environmental form linked here and the applicable part of the Code of Federal Regulations on the environmental form. So be sure to look at those, which are hyperlinked. But then once you do review, you'll just say, yes, I have reviewed and understand them, and I attest to my understanding. So you'll press save. If you say no to that attestation, it will not allow you to save. So you have to attest yes. There will be an error message. So you have to attest yes. The rest of these forms and certifications are required. So you'll need to complete all of these to successfully complete the application. Okay, now I need to hop back to the other application to show you how to submit. So one moment. Okay, so now we're going to review on how to submit the application. So first I just want to pause and say, okay, so I think I'm done, lots of green check marks, looks good. But I can see that this says 99% complete. So that means I am not ready to submit because at least one of these subsections is not completed. So I want to carefully go through and see which of the green check marks is missing. I can see question 23 is what is missing. Now, if I try to submit this application, I will get an error message and it'll actually tell you what is missing. So that is also a way you can feel like, I can't tell what's missing. Just try to submit and it'll show you exactly what is missing. So I got to go back to question 23. I need to fill that in. I'm just going to, again, this is a test application, just putting test. And now we can see that's going to change to 100% complete, 100% complete, which is what we want. Okay, so now we can scroll all the way to the bottom and do the attestation and submission. Okay, so a couple things just to pause here and go over this. Number one, an application cannot be edited or deleted once submitted. There can only be one application per applicant, and it needs to match the information in the ESTA 424. Only an authorized representative, and I just want to emphasize this, an authorized representative must sign and attest the application. That's this check mark. So by selecting this check mark, I agree to the terms stated above. I am signed in as an authorized representative, but if I'm just a point of contact or I don't have the ability to enter an agreement on behalf of my organization, I will not be able to check this box. This does, slip people up quite a bit. So really make sure you know in AMIS who is your authorized representative, and do this ahead of time. Because technically a authorized representative can attest anytime. I can do this as attestation and then go back and keep working on the application. It's just a time and date. Now, we recommend doing this at the end to make sure all the information is correct, of course, but I just want to emphasize this must be attested to, and it has to be an authorized representative. This is very, very, very important. Okay, so after the authorized representative attestation is completed, then you can submit the application. So we're at 100% and we have the attestation. And again, if this isn't attested to, I'll just show you, you're going to get another error message saying it must be attested to before submitting. And if I'm not an authorized representative, I won't be able to click this box. Okay, I've clicked the box and now I'm going to submit the application. And again, it's saying, let me just refresh the page. So it shows that. Go here and I'll press submit the application. So you may need to do a refresh. This is again, just like a test. So again, because I was messing around with the attestation, I needed to refresh. And once I refreshed, I hit submit application. And you can see that it says, thank you for submitting your application. And it was successfully submitted. So if you are getting an error, need to resolve something, always recommending refreshing the application, navigating here again, and then clicking submit just to clear any errors. Okay, so once you've done that, your application is locked. So if I go back through any of these questions, I can no longer change any of my answers. All of it is read-only, as we can see here. Okay, and I also want to show you, if you go back to your program profile, what that looks like. So again, if I just click my link to the test application, org, then, so this is the organizational page. I go to related, and then the program profile, scrolling down to the program profile, CMF, click that again, and then I go to the related tab. You can see the status, and you can see this has been submitted. Oftentimes we get service requests asking like, hey, how can I tell that my application was submitted or not? This is how you can look and feel very confident that it was submitted. Now, if you'd like to take a look at it, you can download the PDF of the application, and all that information will be available to you. If you would like to see it, through kind of the lens that you submitted the application, you can also open it up, but again, you will not be able to change anything within the application. Okay, so that is the conclusion of this demonstration. We hope that you will find it useful. Again, AMIS is your friend, and if you have any questions, be sure to submit those service requests as we talked about. But we hope that this has been helpful, and if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Thank you so much. Have a great day.